There are many people who have sent me messages and communicated with me, usually just in person, and you can always see when they're frustrated because they're trying to figure out what to get for Valentine's Day. And it can be a little bit tricky, I think. Of course, it depends on the relationship. But overall, I have discovered that keeping to the basics is by far the safest, and sometimes it allows you to be a bit more creative, maybe even than you thought. And so, what I wanted to talk a little bit about today was just my method and what I have seen other people do um, in coming up or creating or thinking about what to do for Valentine's Day for their significant other. Um, there's really two schools of thought that I have kind of observed just generally. The first part is, you can get a gift that's what you would expect that someone would get on Valentine's Day. So maybe chocolate, a Valentine's card. You could get some type of small gift, maybe flowers. And then there's the other, what I would call more developed types of gifts when you're, perhaps with your significant other for quite some time, maybe longer than a year. And so you might then consider spending upwards of 90 to $100, maybe even more on a Valentine's present. And that could be, a dozen roses and maybe some jewelry or a really nice gift card. I think those are all really good ideas and they're a fairly safe bet. But if you're looking at coming up with ideas or maybe ways or gifts, then my recommendation would be, if you want something unique this year, is that you look not from what did I get last year or what should I get, but perhaps maybe think about what's happened in the last 6 months, what's happened in the last year. Maybe there's a hallmark moment that you remember that was funny or that was memorable. Maybe there's something that happened. It could be usually you want it to be some type of happy memory. Maybe you got engaged. I mean, who knows? In your own personal life. Um, or think about what you know about that person. What are their likes? What do they really enjoy doing? You were on a date one time and you went, rock climbing on an indoor rock climbing place, and she loved it. You thought she'd hate it, and she loved it. Or maybe you guys went out to eat, and he loved Italian food, so maybe Bupa di Beppo is a really good alternative rather than just a gift card. So I think the rule for me, and the rule that I would suggest really for everyone, is to first, if you're having difficulty trying to think of what to do for Valentine's Day, quit Googling, grab yourself a pen or pencil, and write down a couple things you know about that person. It doesn't matter what it is at that time. Or write down what's transpired in the last 6 months, the last year. It could even be something longer. And think about what would be maybe the best way to incorporate that memory into this Valentine's Day. When there's a gift on the line that is crafted by you, made, specially ordered, when it's something personal in that person's life, it will almost always outweigh of getting something that is not associated at all. I mean, think about your own life. What are some of the memories you remember? I bet you're going to be thinking of maybe when your child was born, when you graduated high school, when you graduated college, when you ran your first marathon, when you did well on the spelling bee. You know, when you got your first job, when 9/11 happened. That's something tragic, but it's still a memory. Um, Maybe when you became best friends with your pal. Those are all memories and they're very deep inside you. You'll never not going to forget that. You'll notice that if you ask yourself truly that question, what are things that I remember about me or that are memorable? You notice most likely you're not going to go, "Oh yeah, I remember that one time my dad bought me a shirt." Or I remember that one time I got a $20 gift card to Starbucks. See? So I'm not saying those are bad ideas. I'm just saying if you're really wanting to make an impact this Valentine's Day, you start by looking at your partner. What is it about them that's unique? What is it about them that you find enjoyable or what they find enjoyable? Maybe it's something that they really would love to do. So that's my first tip, right? Understand your partner. And I could give you ideas all day, but you could come up with better ones because you know your partner better than anyone. Um, so the second tip that I would have is try, if this is an activity based gift like mountain climbing or getting a massage or something like that, step out of your comfort zone and join that person in doing it. So what do I mean by that? Well, rather than give a pair ticket to the movie theaters and say whenever you want you can go with your friend, how about whenever you want we can go? Sounds like common sense, but that's typically sometimes well, not typically, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Or yeah, I just noticed you like rock climbing, so here's a $30 gift certificate to go rock climbing anytime you want. That's a single activity. You want to show that person that you care about them, so you should be joining them. And you might already be thinking that, but think of how you present that gift. If you have a gift card for rock climbing, make sure it's enough for both of you and say, this is an activity for us to do down the road. Whenever you want to go rock climbing, we're going to do this together. And that not only helps you strengthen your relationship, but it also provides you with an activity for the future, something to look forward to. That one night that it's rainy or that you're bored, you can't think of anything to do, that's going to be right there for both of you to enjoy. So the second tip would be, if you have an activity, make sure that you both can do it together. Another example of an activity that really it's a good example that I think husbands and long-term boyfriends give their significant others, they typically give a really nice and expensive kind of like an all-day or a massage or a face mask or something like that. Guys, step out of your comfort zone. Do something with your woman. So instead of here's a $75 gift certificate to getting a massage, how about you do couples massage? You may not be comfortable. You may think, okay, that's just a little weird, but put it to you this way. It's an opportunity for you to do something with that one special person and to make them feel like you're there for them. And if that means you're a little bit uncomfortable, so what? I'm sure they've done other things like that for you when maybe they didn't want to go, whether it was maybe a sports game or they went to your job even though they were bored, but they did it to show support. So use this as an opportunity to grow in a relationship. Use this as an opportunity to show that person that you're really willing to do things maybe that's outside your comfort zone. If on the other side you're like, oh man, couples massage sounds great, I would love to do that, I've never done that, perfect. So that's something that would be amazing. So you present that gift as whenever you want, you and I together are going to go get a couples massage. And it's really fun. It's something that I have done. And I tell you, after I, done a couples massage, next time I probably do want to be there when my significant other is there. It's fun, and it really helps build that relationship a little bit closer, knowing that you'll be there for that one person. Even if you're not comfortable, you're still there. So you can get a lot of good bonus points, a lot of good relationship points just by stepping outside your comfort zone. So if you have an opportunity to do something with that person, like an activity, even if you're not comfortable, that's a great idea. So that would be tip number 2. Lastly, for tip number 3, I would suggest, especially if you're early in your relationship, that you talk to your significant other about expectations of money. Um, um, from my experience and from others that I've seen, money is taboo, like talking about sex in the bedroom, right? Especially early on in a relationship, because the expectations are really unknown. You know, your expectations is, oh my gosh, I don't really know. I don't know what to get to that person. Or let's say you say, hey, you know what? I have an idea. We'll do an activity. But then start thinking, well, how much is this going to cost? And do you, how much will the other person be spending on a gift from me? That can be a little nerve wracking, especially at the very beginning of relationships, because you might spend something like $120 on a gift because you're thinking to yourself, well, I want it to be very good, and I obviously want it to be more than what my other partner would spend on me because I want to show my affection or my love. And then that other person could be thinking the same thing. And let's say that they only spend $50, and then all of a sudden you can make each other feel very uncomfortable. So here's what I would recommend. If you have a gift that's activity based, that almost doesn't matter as far as the difference in cost. If you spent 70 and that other person spent 40, because it's an activity based and it'll be a lot of fun, no one cares about it, right? You're selling the activity, not the money. But if you end up getting a gift that's really centered around money, that financial thing, or you're just not sure, you need to go talk to your significant other. If you haven't by now, even early on, if you're uncomfortable talking about money, then that's something that you need to go and get resolved. Let's talk to that person. Say, hey, why don't we have a limit on how much we should spend? Let's put a cap at $35. And don't feel cheap, because I'm sure that other person, I can bet my bottom dollar that other person is thinking the same thing. So don't feel like you're being cheap, or that you're making the other person feel like they're cheap. You tell them. You say, look, let's put a cap at like 35 or $40. What do you think about that? So that way, we're saving money for maybe a trip down the road, or that, just so I know how much we should spend each other. I don't want any feelings to get hurt. And at the same time, I want to be comfortable, so I know, what we can spend within reasonable limit. First, that shows fiscal responsibility on your end, but it also shows a willingness to talk about maybe something that's taboo. And that might open the door, and that person may literally go, yeah, I've had the same feelings and I didn't know how much I should spend either. I think that's a great idea. And if you're not sure sometimes how to bring up money, ask them. My recommendation is you go forth, but if you're not sure, ask them. Say, hey, how much do you think is reasonable to spend, on a Valentine's present? I'd like to get a ballpark figure, because, there's so much stuff out there, right? And there's a lot of things that I really want to get for you, or there's things that are really neat that I want to do, but I want to stay within a budget that I think we should both be agreeing on. And I think that's great. That's an opportunity for you guys to grow closer together. If financials isn't really a taboo, then you've probably already spoken to them about that. And that's the advice for anyone in an early relationship. If you're well developed, if you're married, you're already going to know that for your own family what that works at. Whether that's you spend whatever you want, or you've still come up with an agreement on how much you want. That's up to you. But for early relationships, it's important to set that mark, and you're not going to look cheap. And you can say that too. You can say, look, I don't want to look like I'm being a cheapo, but it's very stressful trying to figure out a gift because there's a lot out there. You can use that excuse. Blame the world if you need to, but take that time, take that effort. It's going to show a lot of maturity on your end. It'll show that fiscal responsibility. Girls, if you're listening to this and your man has never done this, if you want to show that man that you really love him, you do that. If you go up to him and you say, let's come up with a dollar amount, the maximum dollar amount we should spend on Valentine's Day. Wow. you're going to be showing your man that you really care about finances, about money, and that you really care about him not being so worried about how much he should spend. Because guys, sometimes it's just very difficult. There's so much out there. When should you get jewelry? When should not? Can they really afford it? But if you go there and you make that mark, you're going to get so much respect from your man. It's going to be like 1,000 kisses and 1,000 hugs all together at once. And that person's going to remember that probably better than the gift that they may get you. Because that's that level of support that you're noticing. Hey, we're very uncomfortable at this, and I don't know what my man's planning on getting me, but boy, if I mention that to him and we put a maximum dollar amount, boy, that is going to make you look just amazing. So that's kind of a bonus point right off the bat. And you can bet that that guy's going to be bragging about you to all of his guy friends, because most guys would love to have that amount. And again, it's not about being cheap. It's not about disrespect. But, we're not all millionaires. So if you want to have a comfortable life where everyone's kind of easy getting along, then the best way to do it is everyone needs to talk the same language. And part of that language is money language, right? That's really the only advice that I have, although I think it's pretty good advice. It covers for most things. So if you're not sure, again, personalize the gift. Think about something that's happened within the last 6 months. That'll be the most memorable. If there's something that's really important or something that you go, oh yeah, this was so memorable and it happened 3 years ago, and there was never a gift that was wrapped around that meaning, perfect. Use that. And then find something close to that. One gift that I was looking at recently, just kind of, actually I've done two things. So my Valentine's gift, I made a specialized mirror frame. It was a black mirror that my girlfriend wanted, and she couldn't find one. Now, we were looking at stores, and she wanted always one that was a black mirror, not a silver mirror, but a black mirror. So I made that for her, but I also heavily personalized it, right? I took some dried roses from our first time that we went out, and that's incorporated within the black mirror. I did quite a bit of creative stuff. But the idea is, I know that it's going to mean as much to me on making it than it's going to mean amazing for her, right? She's going to be like, wow, I can't believe he remembered that and he made this for me and listened to me. And, it's a good mirror. And I think the total cost in this was like $27. But again, it's the memories that we remember, not the dollar amount. So that's kind of the idea, right? Wrap around something you know about that person. See if you can find a gift that's associated with it, and then try and merge those two things together, especially if it's something personal for that other person, because that always evokes that respect that you're giving them, that recognition, and time after time again, whether it's Valentine's Day or birthday, that's usually the best way to really get a good gift and for them to be happy. I mean, that's what you would want too, for the most part. Once in a while, it's good to go crazy and maybe splurge a couple of $100s on jewelry, right? What woman wouldn't want a jewelry necklace or something like that? But that's reserved for really special occasions. But for the Valentine's once a year, showing that respect, showing the love, showing the kindness, especially when it's wrapped around something personal, that's really what Valentine's Day is about. So I bid you all good luck in trying to locate a gift. You've only got a couple of weeks, so if you haven't gotten anything right now, you still have plenty of time. And of course, you can always reserve a place at a restaurant and hang out, spend time together. It doesn't even matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a $300 steak. Most of the time, as long as you have good conversation, you go to some place where it's $30 a person or $20 a person. That's fine. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be intimate. Anyway, thanks for listening. Feel free to subscribe and leave comments below if you have any further suggestions for other people as far as what to do for Valentine's Day. And I bid you all a happy Valentine's Day and a great day. Thank you for listening.